This is a ManeHustle Media podcast.
All the way from the A, you listen to My Favorite Lesbian on BRQ.
Hey, stay locked in with your favorite lesbian on Black Radical Queer. Yeah.
Hey y'all, this is Javia Nicole, aka Your Favorite Lesbian, and you're listening to Black Radical Queer Podcast, our stories on our own terms. Hey y'all, this is Javia Nicole. Welcome to Season 2, Episode 4 of Black Radical Queer Podcast. Before I get into this episode, first of all, I just want to mention something real quick because I don't want for my producer to fight me. So I need to go ahead and mention this. So for those of you all who do not know, I do have a Patreon for the podcast. And I really do want to continue doing the podcast and, making sure that it grows and that we're able to get to the next level. And I do have big dreams for this podcast. I was just actually scrolling on Instagram before I started recording, and I saw that Crystal and Kid Fury have their own show now on Fuse. And it's so interesting because when I started this and I looked at who are my kind of role models, or just who are people that I really look up to and whose trajectory really inspires me. And that would be The Read and Bodega Boys. And so I've seen them both progress from having a podcast to doing videos and stuff like that to now having their own shows, so their own TV shows. And so I think that that's really dope, and it's a trajectory that I'm interested in. I would like to be able to do live shows and eventually just go from there. I don't know, maybe your girl can get on Vice or something. I'm down for all of that. I would love to just see the continued growth of BRQ, but of course, to make that happen, it requires resources, and I'm only one person, and I only got one other person, my producer, who, we're really pouring into this thing that we're doing. And so, yeah, I mean, if the podcast is something that really impacts you, that really speaks to you and resonates with you, then I would absolutely appreciate your support on Patreon. There are different levels that you can support on Patreon. There's, kind of different names for each level. There's everything from a tip jar to a reparations level, because y'all know how I roll. So we're not, so that is reflected in my different levels. Also, I do, of course, have Venmo and Cash App. So for folks who want to do a one-time contribution as opposed to a monthly one, that can be done that way. And for both of those, it's just Black Rad Queer, BLK RAD QWR, in order to contribute. And the same on Patreon. So Patreon, you can do monthly amounts as low as $1 and just go up from there. Anything that is contributed is appreciated, and it really does help to the resources of the show. We do have to pay to host, to basically the hosting that gets the show put out to all the platforms where you listen to it. We have to pay for that. And we are also working on having a dedicated recording space. And I really am working on my goal of being able to do some live shows and get out to more people. And I actually submitted some proposals to bring a live show to some conferences. So I'm just waiting to hear back from that. So, we are making moves and really trying to get to the next level. And, one of the ways that that's possible is through you all support. So anything that you can contribute is appreciated and will really help to grow the show. All right. So beyond that, this particular episode, I really just wanted to do kind of a news roundup. And part of it is just kind of me just reflecting on some social media stuff. And just me talking to y'all. Every now and then I do episodes like this where I'm really just kind of talking to y'all. So that's what's going to happen today. So I wanted to start with a few headlines that caught my eye and then just kind of go from there. So I saw circulating on Facebook that Mattel launched a line of gender nonconforming dolls. And at first, I didn't know if it was real because I saw a picture of a doll and I thought someone had, because I don't know if y'all have seen this, but sometimes they'll have pictures of like dolls circulating that other people have created. Like they've taken like a Barbie or something and they've modified it in some way. Like I've seen it a lot with like black Barbie dolls where they'll do like braids and locks and, really like manipulate their hair texture and their features. And it's super fucking dope. So I thought it was something like that. But then I had to go, check some receipts and do some research. And I was able to find, news stories that were saying that this is what Mattel is doing. So I think it's dope. The thing about the dolls is they have some like interchangeable things. So really they can be customized to fit, whatever the child or, whoever wants. So when I looked through like pictures and stuff like that, they had a doll. Well, for all the ones I saw, they had like options where they had like short hair. You could switch it out for long hair. They had, different clothing options and stuff like that. So, and to me, the dolls really did look very versatile and very, I guess kind of like gender neutral, where, kids will have the opportunity to really just kind of customize them the way that they want, which I think is dope. I think it's really cool because it's something that allows, for one, kids to customize things in a way that can be more reflective of them, and also just allows them to use their imagination and to really give them more options of how they can express their creativity in their play. Play is one of the ways that kids learn and grow and communicate. And so having more options available to them is like increasing language available to them in their play. So I think that's really awesome and important, and something that, it's 2019. We should be on that path anyway. We should be able to have kids customize and modify like their toys and the things they play with to better suit them and to better, reflect them. I remember growing up, when I had a black doll, like those things stood out to me. And my mom, I didn't play with a bunch of dolls, and my mom didn't like get me a bunch of dolls because it really wasn't my thing. But when I had a black doll, like those things stand out to me. I had a Kenya doll. And that definitely, like, I just remember, seeing a doll that had like braids, that had dark skin. That kind of stuff really does, it leaves an impression, and kids are impressionable and they're learning about the world around them. So it's really, really important for them to have toys where they can start seeing themselves reflected in the world around them at a very early age. And so I think that Mattel, launching this line of these gender nonconforming dolls does present that opportunity to provide more avenues for kids to be able to see themselves reflected in their play. So I think that's really dope. And I'm just curious to see like how they continue to expand the line. When I did my research, I saw maybe about 3 or 4 dolls. I did see a black one. So there was a black one that was included, so they had like a nice little mix of dolls to start with. I don't know if that's the complete line or, what their plans for the future are in terms of the line. I didn't find information on that. It just, showed that they were launching this line. So it's something I'll continue to look at because I think it is really cool and really important. So, shout out to Mattel that I think they got that right. All right. So another headline that, I saw is pertaining to the Emmys. And of course, I don't know like if my listeners watch the Emmys. I don't know if y'all are into that, or I don't know if y'all, pay attention to that stuff. And honestly, like I didn't really watch the Emmys. I saw like some clips and stuff and, but I kind of just like followed on social media to see what would happen. I really was checking it out because I wanted to see if Pose was going to win anything. That was my primary motivation, just being completely honest. So even though Pose didn't win as many things as I would like it to, I do, I appreciate that Billy Porter did win an Emmy. Now he's, I think 2 for 4 in terms of the EGOT. Like I think he has a Tony and now he has an Emmy, so he just needs, the other 2. So hopefully that'll come to fruition for him. But one of the things that stood out to me, I was reading an article about the Emmys because since I didn't watch it, I just saw people posting about it and people tweeting about it. So I went to go find an article so I could like see kind of all in one place who won, and, you know, kind of what were the shows that really stood out and all that type of stuff, trying to see like, hey, are there some shows I'm supposed to be watching that I'm not watching? Like, you know, what's going on in these streets? Because I don't know. So there was an article that NBC did, and I like that they included this quote from Billy Porter, and I really like that. So I'm just going to share that with you all. So as a matter of fact, I'm going to just like share their whole little blurb because it's short. So it's from NBC News. They said Billy Porter moved closer to an EGOT and made history Sunday, becoming the first openly gay man to win the Best Actor in a Drama Award for his magnetic performance on FX's Pose, a series about the drag ball culture of 1980s New York. The stylish and charismatic performer, who won a Tony Award in 2003 for the Broadway musical Kinky Boots. I knew he won a Tony. I didn't realize it was in 2003. I didn't realize it was that long ago, but yeah, he's been out here in these streets. Anyway, all right, so he received a standing ovation as he took the stage in a glittering suit and a large hat. Porter, I said Porter, what? Porter nodded to the milestone in his acceptance speech, quoting writer and gay rights activist James Baldwin. James Baldwin said, "It took many years of vomiting up all the filth that I had been taught about myself and halfway believed before I could walk around this earth like I had the right to be here." I have the right, you have the right, we all have the right, Porter added. Okay, so I just love this quote that he used. Yeah, I love this quote that he used. It did resonate with me, and I feel like it's relevant to a lot of Black people, to a lot of queer people, to a lot of marginalized people, you know, walking around this earth like you have the right to be here. So that's something that I'm always working on. Shout out to him. Congrats to him. I think it is deserved. And, you know, the Pose stars are out here doing their thing. I know that Angelica Ross just hosted a LGBTQ forum for the Democratic presidential candidates. And even though, you know, folks had to be ridiculous, and she really went through, she's gone through some stuff, you know, as a result of that. Basically, she ended up, I guess a segue, because I plan to talk about that too, but she faced a lot of backlash from Trump supporters as well as Sanders supporters, because she she did call Bernie Sanders out for not attending the forum. She basically was like, you know, that's not a good look. That's not a good move for you to not be present at this forum, you know, this LGBTQ forum, which she's right. I'm like, if you're a candidate, like you should be there. So the fact that you're choosing not to, I think speaks volumes. And so I think she was absolutely correct. But of course, she received a lot of backlash, you know, as a Black trans woman. And, you know, it ended up in her leaving Twitter because she was just being bombarded with stuff. And I'm just like, you know, she deserves better. Black women deserve better. Black trans women deserve better. And I think it was very important that she did play that role and that she did play a part in facilitating that forum, because it's necessary. And I think who better than a Black trans woman to do that? So, you know, a lot of people, you know, are going to have shit to say and going to be negative and just be violent and oppressive and really nasty, honestly, and disgusting. But her voice is very important. I feel like she playing that role and her helping to facilitate that was very vital. And I am glad that she did it. And I just hate that was the impact of it. But yeah, so another headline that caught my attention was, okay, so it's 2019 and people are under the impression that, you know, we've come such a long way in our society and, you know, we've made all these strides. And I'm not saying that things are exactly how they were during primitive times or anything, but we still have such a long way to go. There's still so much progress that we haven't made. And so I just want people to remain cognizant of that. Like, yeah, okay, things may not look the way they used to, but we're still dealing with the same issues. They may just look different now. we haven't gotten rid of the byproducts of white supremacy and patriarchy and homophobia and transphobia. Like, that shit is still thriving. Okay. But anyway, so I saw this headline that caught my eye because it said something about conversion therapy. And so it's crazy to me because I'm like, yeah, we're still dealing with issues around conversion therapy in 2019. So basically, this was in Maryland. A psychotherapist said that a psychotherapist like basically said he had the right to treat LGBTQ youth with conversion therapy. I shouldn't say LGBTQ. I'll just say gay, because I don't know the full scope. They specifically talk about like gay youth, so I'll just say gay. But this therapist was using conversion therapy to try to, convert gay youth from gay to straight. And basically his argument was that he could do that. It was free speech. Like, he was saying that, so he had the right to treat utilizing this therapy or whatever because of free speech. So the state has a law against that. Like, the state of Maryland banned conversion therapy. And so this therapist was like, okay, well, that ban violates my First Amendment right to free speech and religious freedom. So just like we're still dealing with this in 2019. So of course, like, the judge, because this went to court and everything like that, he sued the state. And so the judge is like, okay, well, no, actually this ban does not hinder your religious freedom or your personal beliefs or anything like that, but you can't practice conversion therapy. Like, you just cannot do it. So yeah, so he was, he was still practicing conversion therapy even though he wasn't supposed to. And this is just so wild to me that we're still dealing with this in 2019. It really is ridiculous that we are. But, it's so crazy to me because there's a lot of rhetoric, like, in terms of our politics, the rhetoric is separation of church and state. But the reality is that is not the reality. Our church and our state are not separate. Our politics are so infused with religion and immersed in religion. So this whole thing of separation of church and state is just bullshit, And so I think that this is one of those situations that shows that it's like, okay, well, you're a therapist, you're supposed to be a professional, and you're saying, oh, well, because of my personal beliefs, I should be able to professionally practice in this particular way. It's just so ridiculous. It really is. So anyway, if you want to read more about these things that I mentioned, I'll make sure to include the links to articles and stuff like that so that y'all can see. All right. So outside of that, I was having this interaction on Facebook that I just wanted to share with y'all because it's so interesting to me. Y'all know how I am. And I try to be like very direct and very honest and all this kind of stuff. And it's just crazy to me sometimes the conversations that take place because of that. So I did a post on my Facebook, and some of you follow me on Facebook, and because I posted the same thing on Twitter as well. So some of you all may have seen this post, but anyway, for those of you who have not seen it, this is what I posted, and I'll let you all know what kind of predicated this, but this is the post. I said, I tried to pray my gay away for years, but it didn't work. So I just accepted it and moved on with my gay ass life. Now, the older I get, the more I appreciate the fact that my romantic affinity is for Black women, because Chile, I couldn't be hetero in these streets. I can't imagine the stress. Yes, I said stress, not stress, stress. I don't see how the straight women's do it. Child, I ain't built for heterosexuality. I don't need that negativity in my life. All right, so let me tell you all what prompted this post. So I'm scrolling through Facebook, minding my Black ass business. I see this post, and I think it popped up for me because my wife commented on the post. And so they're talking about like parental rights and shit like that on the post. And my wife leaves a comment, some guy says something, kind of like refuting what she said or whatever. And the way he said it was just so like, it really seemed like he was trying to kind of like shoot her down or just like, I'm right, you're wrong type of thing, when in reality, she was not wrong. So, so she just kind of responded, all right, you feel better? You feel good about yourself? Because the way he came across was just so ridiculous. I'm like, you going real hard. Like, it's really not that deep. You just coming back so aggressively. So it was that post and just seeing that interaction between like how this man was interacting with my woman, how this man was interacting with a woman. And, there was another post where there was something similar of like, this guy just like mansplaining. And I'm just like, whew, like, the more I was seeing this as I'm scrolling, I don't know why it's like, several posts were just in close proximity to each other as I'm scrolling. So I'm seeing these instances of guys on posts who are mansplaining and who are doing all this shit. And I just was like rolling my eyes like, whew, I'm so glad it ain't my ministry. So that's what prompted my post, because I was just looking at just guys engaging with women on social media. And I'm just like, ooh, y'all rough. Right. So I did this post. So I do this post, people are reacting to it. People are commenting on it. There are some straight women who are, commenting and, just this is what it is. So then there's this woman who comments on, well, there were a few people who commented like, oh, there are bad people, there are bad folks who are men and women, or it's all the same, that kind of shit. And I just honestly ignored them because I'm like, you are absolutely missing the point of my post. Because yeah, whatever, like it's not the same. So I just kept it moving. So I did my post. So then, the partner of a friend or whatever, I guess I'll just put it like that, commented on my post. They're like, oh, I know some really good men and my brother and this person, that person, let's not forget about them. And I'm just like, I wasn't even going to say anything. Okay. I wasn't, because people who were commenting saying stuff like, oh, there's some good guys, that type of thing. Or, there's bad people, there's bad women and bad men, whatever. I just was not responding to them because I'm like, you missing a damn point and I ain't about to do this with you. So, but when I saw a few comments like that, I posted on my post just saying, I said, I'm being silly, but ultimately I'm speaking to a larger issue of patriarchy and the byproducts of it. Yes, there are all sorts of terrible people of various genders. Yes, there are, and I put in quotes, good guys. But ultimately, patriarchy and the perpetuators of patriarchy are problematic as fuck in how they engage with women and non-men. A few outliers does not refute my point. As a woman/femme person, my experience with men has largely been problematic at best, and I'm grateful that my romantic leanings and family goals do not require me to rely on men intimately, financially, or otherwise. Also, a guy being quote-unquote good does not exempt him from male privilege, just like being good doesn't exempt a white person from white privilege and the byproducts of white supremacy. Good is subjective, and the bar is low as fuck for men. Okay, so this was just me being like, okay, let me go ahead and address these folks who are like, oh, but there are women who are bad too, or oh, not all men. Okay, whatever. Y'all are definitely missing the point, but okay, whatever. That's fine. So I get this reply. And so this person's like, oh, I'm not trying to exempt anyone from anything. The point I'm making is that all men aren't assholes, like all white folks aren't racist, and all black folks aren't criminals on public assistance. This post feels like men are being bashed, and although sometimes it's well-deserved, I'm saying something about it. Does their behavior overall need to change? Hell yes. However, I'm shouting out about the men who don't fall into that category. So feel free to chop that up however you need to. So I'm like, okay, you on my post with the foolishness, but all right, fine. So my response, I didn't misunderstand your point at all. You're saying not all men, which is like saying all lives matter in response to a Black Lives Matter post. All men benefit from patriarchy, whether they're assholes or not. All white people benefit from white supremacy, whether they're blatantly racist or not. And I want to note, I specifically said blatantly racist because all white people have to contend with racism. Like, you benefit from it. So like, you're not void of it. You may be less conspicuous than some of your peers, but hey, you got shit you got to challenge. But anyway, and And then I said, and the all black folks aren't criminal statement is a false equivalent to patriarchy and racism. That's an anti-black stereotype. Because like, really? Because basically you're saying that if you're saying, oh, well, all black people aren't criminals on public assistance, then that's you insinuating that white people being racist and men being sexist or misogynist or fucking problematic. That's like you saying that those things are also stereotypes, which is not true. But anyway, I said, men don't need anyone to defend them as a group. They are systemically protected. My post ain't hindering them in any way. Speaking my truth, that I'm grateful that I don't have to rely on them as a source of physical, emotional, or financial support isn't bashing them, it's being honest. Shouting out a few men you know is irrelevant to my personal experience, as well as the larger system of male-inflicted oppression and violence. This goes beyond their behavior needing to change. Society needs to change. That's how I'm chopping that up on my post based on my personal experience. I say men have been toxic in my experience. You responding, not all men, is dismissive at best. You can shout them out on your own terms, but this isn't the appropriate forum. Now, I'm mentioning this because this is a prime example of all your skin folk ain't your kinfolk. Because this person who, wants to hop on my post saying basically not all men, and this post is bashing men, is a black lesbian woman. So we may identify similarly in terms of our orientation, and we may, both be black, but clearly we are not the same in terms of our politics, and that's fine. You can believe what you want to believe. You can say what you want to say, but you coming on my post talking about not all men is irrelevant. You can say that shit on your own page. You can go on your own, make your own post saying not all men are bad, blah, blah, blah. That's fine. You want to be a pick me, do that shit on your own turf. So, but I'm not the one. If you're going to do it on my turf, yes, I understand this is a public post and a public forum like Facebook, but it is also my profile. So it is still my turf. And if you come on my turf, then your ass is going to get checked. I'm not invested in these niggas, so of course, I shouldn't have to qualify. And it's the same argument folks make when it comes to Black Lives Matter. When people say Black Lives Matter and folks are like, oh, all lives matter. You shouldn't have to fucking qualify the statement. No one is saying that all lives don't matter. We're specifically saying that Black Lives Matter because they are treated as if they don't. And it's the same thing with me saying, hey, men out here being trash. Patriarchy is trash. Saying not all men. Okay, but that does not refute the larger system that's at play. Like you saying not all men. If I'm saying men have been problematic to me, men have been violent toward me, which is absolutely true. You coming through like not all men are like that. Okay, that is irrelevant and it's dismissive, and it's the same as the all lives matter, Black Lives Matter thing. It's like, okay, well, no one needs to hear that. Like, what's your point? So I get it. I'm like, I didn't misunderstand, and I'm still telling you that this is not the place for it. You want to, if that's what you want to do, because this is the thing too. It's like we are expected, like Black women and Black women adjacent people are expected to uplift the Black man and do all this stuff. And so it's like, if we say something that is a valid critique, and I didn't even specifically say Black men, because there have been times where I have specifically called out Black men, but I'm just talking about men in general. But we are expected to uplift and uphold, and I'm just like, okay, that's all well and fine. And if that's how you want to operate, that's fine. But we don't get that on a large scale. I'm not nitpicking, talking about no individual ass circumstances. I'm talking about systems, large systems of things. And so on a large scale, men do not cape cape for women the way that women cape for men, period. So the fact that this person as a Black queer woman felt it necessary to come on my post to defend some men who I don't even know, and who they like, my post ain't stopping shit in their life. It's just like, okay, you really feel this, I don't know, obligation. You feel obligated to men in a way that I don't. I'm not obligated to these niggas. I'm not. I used to feel a certain responsibility to men, particularly Black men. I did. I have divested from that. I don't feel that responsibility anymore. I don't have to coddle you. I don't have to be your care provider. I don't have to do any of those things. You ain't my protector. You ain't providing for me. And we have upheld and kind of coddled and supported them for so long. I'm like, at some point, y'all gonna have to understand what it's like to not have that from us. And that may not happen on a large scale, but at least in my life, I can choose to not center men. I don't center men in my life. I'm just not gonna do it. But yeah, just because, you can have these identifications in common with someone doesn't mean that y'all see eye to eye. We can both, use the same descriptors, for ourselves in terms of like black or lesbian or woman or whatever, and just be in totally different places in terms of our politics and how we choose to navigate our lives. My thing is, like I've stated, my affinity is for women, particularly black women. So fuck, I look like centering men. Like I literally have no reason at all to center men in my life. And even though we're taught, it's like ingrained in us that we should center men, like protect the black man and uplift the black man and all that kind of stuff. We, even as queer folks, even as queer women or whatever, even as folks whose relationships don't necessarily model the quote unquote norm, we're still expected to kind of uphold those tenets. So we're still expected to play a certain role for men, whether it's in the workplace or at home or whatever. We are expected to play a certain role. And I am very deliberately divesting from that and rejecting that and resisting that in how I choose to navigate my life. And so for me, I do not center men. I center women, first and foremost, black women, period. Like that is, so when I say like the personal is political, that is a prime example of that for me. My personal romantic affinity is for black women. The political for me is that's who I center in my efforts. That's who I give the most room to and the most flexibility to. That's who I don't have an issue educating. Everybody else, I'm just like, all right, then, because you have the privilege, men have the privilege to get whatever resources they need or do whatever they need to do. My black ass ain't got to do that. Ain't got to be that for them. So yeah, so I'm like, okay, if that works for you and you want to, be, I don't know, if you feel like you need to come on my post and cape for men, that's all well and fine. But, yeah, like I'm still going to respond to it. You're going to have to get checked because I'm not with it. So yeah, as we talk about, different like political views or different like just philosophies or whatever, I'm very cognizant of the fact that just because we may identify the same way in some ways does not mean that our politics are aligned. I also, radical is in this podcast title very deliberately because some shit like people ain't gonna like. My beliefs and like how I choose to navigate the world is not designed to be comfortable for other folks. Like I use the word radical very deliberately. Like, so when I say, hey, I don't center men, this shit ain't for play. Like, it ain't just like, oh, I'm just saying this, or, oh, this is just like a little funny post on Facebook. Like, no, I don't. Like, that's just not, I have to choose to live my life in a radical way for my own well-being. That's just is what it is. Like, so it's not something that is a game to me. Like, this is legit how I live my life. This is legit, not just my personal experience, but also my political framework that I operate from. So, yeah. Anyway, so I just thought it was interesting. I'm like, okay, well, people be like on your friends list, and I'm like, at this point, you should know. For my post, I'm very consistent. You should know kind of where I stand on some shit. And then there was on this same post, some white lady replied, and I'm like, I don't even know where she came from, because honestly, I have removed a lot of white folks off my friends list. There are a few that I've kept because I do have a few white friends on my Facebook who they'll come check their people, like without me having to say anything. They'll be on the post, they just be like, all right, they'll check their fellow white folks. And I'm like, okay, cool. But for the most part, I removed a lot of white folks because I'm like, y'all fucking racist. Like, y'all need to deal with that shit, and I don't need it in my space. But there's this one person, I guess maybe because we just didn't interact as much, and we were never friends. We were just connected through dance networks when I used to belly dance and stuff. So she commented on it saying something about, as a tarot reader, people talk to me about their relationships and, people, all types of people are bad or something. And I'm just like, girl, bye. I honestly just deleted the comment and kept it pushing. I'm just like, you just had to insert yourself. First of all, you just wanted to put out there that you're a tarot reader. I'm like, okay, I also deal with people in relationships and stuff like that. Like, I work in human services. This is what the fuck I do. So let's keep it moving. But clearly you're missing the point. Like, that's fine. Yes, there are shitty people across the board. Absolutely. Some of the shittiest people I've dealt with have not been men. However, on a large scale, when I look at my life in general, just me living my day-to-day life, the things that have impacted my daily life have more so come from men. Like, for instance, when I lived in Atlanta, I could not go a day without being harassed, without dealing with street harassment. I'm not exaggerating. I could not go. The only way I could go without it is if I did not leave my house. If I left my house, particularly if I left my house and got on public transit, I was subjected to street harassment every fucking day, which caused me to develop anxiety around going out by myself. And I'm a grown ass woman, I got shit to do, and I'm not going to always have somebody with me, but I'll be just going about my regular ass day, going out, going to work or something, and I'm getting harassed to and from. And so that is an example of something that it had a very real impact on my life, because I would go into full on anxiety just for me getting to and from my place of employment. I needed to get to work because I had bills to pay. So, but because of how our society is, and because we're in a patriarchy, and because of how men are socialized, that behavior is considered okay to them. Like, they see absolutely nothing wrong with them catcalling me on the street, following me on the street, me walking them, following me in their car, them cornering me in a place. Like, these are all things that legitimately happen. So they don't see anything wrong with their behavior, because we live in a society that is built for them to be able to do that shit. So that's what I mean by, okay, this is something that had a very real impact on my life, because I'm like stressed the fuck out, on the verge of an anxiety attack when I leave the house. Like, I can't just function like a normal damn person. Right. So that's how, the basically the impact of the system. That's the impact the system had on my regular ass life. So for someone to basically come and be like, well, not all men, and I have these good men. Okay, that's all well and fine. But these quote unquote good men, they probably have catcalled somebody. They probably have harassed somebody. They probably have made somebody uncomfortable, all that kind of stuff. Like, they're not exempt. No matter how quote unquote good they are, they're not exempt. And them being good wasn't stopping me from having anxiety about leaving the house because I'm being followed and harassed. Like, that's just real life. So we all have these things that inform our politics and inform our beliefs. And that's the shit that informs my belief, because that was my day-to-day experience. So for someone to basically just, it is very dismissive, because you don't know what somebody has been through to come and be like, oh, well, all people are okay. Yeah, great. There are definitely terrible people across the board, but I'm saying that I'm grateful that I don't have to engage with men in a certain way, because it's stressful, because they're a mess, and that just is what it is. So yeah, anyway, I just want to share that with y'all, because I was like, okay, it's just so interesting to me. We all are in different places politically, and that's fine, but I think we can do better to just be more mindful of the things that we say and kind of our motivations behind saying it. And I'm like, if you want to shout out men and stuff like that, just do that shit on your own terms. Like, they ain't gotta have nothing to do with me. But I'm not giving them no fucking gold stars and cookies and pats on the back and all this kind of shit, when as a group and as a system of oppression, they have greatly negatively impacted my life. And I'm very grateful that I don't also have to rely on those same people to be intimate with me and soft with me and gentle with me and supportive of me and listen to me and be a partner to me. Like, I don't that's not something that I would be able to navigate. And not saying I've never been with a guy, because I have, but that was part of the reason that it did not work, because I'm like, hey, I can like you, I can love you or whatever. But the reality is I don't know how to navigate this relationship with you, because there are things that you do that are inherently oppressive. And so if my only desire was to have intimacy and closeness and stuff with a man, like romantically, I'm just like, I don't know how I would reconcile that. And I know that's something that, based on the straight women I've talked to, that's something that they struggle with. Based on the women who, the women who desire relationships with men, or non-men who desire relationships with men, and what they go through. I'm just like, that, to me, that's tough. And I'm just personally glad that that's not a struggle that I have to deal with. Because I can't imagine that it's like I have to build intimacy with this group that has largely been violent to me. It's the same with white people. When I say I don't like facilitate intimacy with white folks, like I don't seek intimacy with white people, it is for the exact same reason. Because I can't imagine having a certain degree of closeness and intimacy with someone who was a part of a group that has largely been negative. I just can't roll like that. Of course, there are all these individual people, whatever. So I might have, like, there might be a guy, I'm like, oh, he's cool. There might be this white person, oh, they're cool. But am I going to be as intimate with them as I am going to be with a black woman? Absolutely not. Period. That's all that I'm saying. And I'm glad that my particular leanings, I'm glad that my romantic desires does not require that of me, because I don't know how I would deal with that. Like, I just don't. That's how I know this shit ain't a choice, because if folks could really choose their orientation, like choose who they're attracted to, choose those natural things, man, I know plenty of women who would be like, you know what, I ain't trying to be with these dudes. But that's who they're attracted to. So it is a difficult thing to reconcile. And I'm just like saying, hey, like, I feel your pain. I'm glad that that's not my ministry. So if that's bashing, it is what it is. Like, they gonna understand in these streets that I'm radical and I really don't give a fuck. Like, it's just like, that's not gonna make me change how I feel to say, oh, you're bashing men. Okay, that's fine. So anyway, that was my little rant / me sharing with y'all my little Facebook chronicles. Every now and then I have a post on Facebook that sparks this type of situation and engagement. It's the same thing happened when I did my post calling out black men in terms of Black Lives Matter. Just all kind of things. Sometimes it surprises me what triggers it, but I always, periodically have a post where some folks want to come on and basically, I guess try to, I don't know, tell me off or whatever. And I'm just like, child, like, you clearly don't know me, because I'm about this life, like, whatever. All right, y'all. So I think I've rambled long enough. It's been a couple episodes since I did a solo episode. So I think that's why this kind of ventured off into me just ranting and kind of just sharing with y'all part of my little Facebook life. But yeah, if you want to be able to get in on these random conversations, then, you can follow me on Facebook. My posts are typically public, so you would be able to comment, as well as on Twitter, because I tweet too. But I've noticed on Twitter, I don't really get as much of the debate. Like, typically on Twitter, like, folks just be agreeing with me. So I don't know, but folks be wanting to argue on Facebook, and I think that's part of it too. Like, I think sometimes folks they want to go back and forth with you, and I'm just like, I ain't got the patience. And so I really was not going to respond to certain things, and I'm just like, you know what? Actually, I'm going to respond, because y'all irritate me. So yeah. So anywho, this was this week's random episode. I'm always open to your questions, comments, feedback, etc., and your support. So make sure you slide it over to the Patreon, or you can always show your girl some love, Venmo, Cash App, all those good things. We're trying to keep this going, and I really am on a mission. Like, I would really love to do a live show. One of the conferences that I submitted to do a live recording is across the country. So if my proposal is accepted, then I'm going to have to get my black ass over there. So I'm just like, if I am able to get more support on my Patreon and all that type of stuff, it'll help provide the resources for that too, so that I can get out to more people, do the live show, and all that good stuff. So we're going to see what happens. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. We have a lot of stuff kind of in the works in terms of BRQ and ManeHustle Media in general, so we'll talk about that later. But I appreciate you all tuning in, listening. Y'all have really been super consistent. Even when I've missed weeks or whatever for various reasons, y'all have gone back to catch up on old episodes. And I really have like this very consistent, solid listener base, which is just so fucking crazy to me. So, I appreciate that y'all are still here. I say a lot of crazy shit and y'all still here. So obviously y'all must fuck with me a little bit, and I'm really glad for that and grateful for that. All right, y'all. So that is it for now. I think I've done enough rambling. Hit me up on all the social media. Y'all already know. And yeah, I guess that's it, y'all. My throat's starting to get a little dry. I need to drink some water. So I'm done for now. Thank y'all for tuning in. All right, until next time. Bye, y'all. Black Radical Queer is a ManeHustle Media podcast hosted by Javia Nicole. BRQ is produced and edited by Charmaine Fury, and the show's theme music was created by The Brothers Records. You can connect with us on Twitter or Instagram at Black Rad Queer. That's BLK RAD QWR. You can also connect with us on Facebook through the Black Radical Queer Podcast Facebook fan page or the BRQ discussion group. You can get Black Rad Queer merch on teespring.com/Black Rad Queer, BLK RAD QWR. And you can leave a voicemail, call in, ask a question, those types of things on the BRQ Google Voice line. And that number is 937-601-8647.
ManeHustle Media. Turn your side hustle into your main hustle.